Hey there, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This time it is a review of Castaway. Now, before I get into the film, there's a little bit of story behind this Blu-ray. Technically. Many years ago, well over a decade ago, I used to have this film on DVD. I was living in Texas, and unfortunately, this two-faced bitch who stole my fucking DVDs. A couple of them, thankfully. Like a handful of them, and pawned them. And I rebought a couple of them, but never got the Castaway DVD. And I was thinking of getting it, but then for some reason never came around to doing it. I don't know why. And then one day I think it was when I did the video, the films of 2000, did a video, like, what came out in the year 2000? I'm like, fuck, I don't have Castaway. So I rectified that and bought the Blu-ray. And the Blu-ray, I mean, you have a commentary track with a group of people, but they're not in the same room together, as far as I know. Trivia track, no documentaries, no interviews with Tom Hanks. I know he's proud of the film. He was nominated for an Oscar for his performance. This film was a huge hit. But yeah, I don't know why it doesn't have much for features. I think that's pretty lame. But yeah, Castaway is a film I really enjoy. I enjoyed it when I first saw it back in the day, and it was a pleasure to watch it again. It had been a while since I've seen it. I mean, like I said, well over a decade. And it still held up. Tom Hanks is a guy who works for FedEx. He has a relationship with Helen Hunt, who I enjoy. She was a twister, as good as it gets. Both films I also enjoy. And he's getting ready to get on a plane, but while on the plane ride, things fuck up, the plane crashes, he's the sole survivor, he washes up on this island, and then has to survive. And then you find out he has to survive on that island for 4 years. Now, I will say, funny enough, the marketing for this, I'm surprised it was a hit. I'm glad it was. It's a damn good movie, but I'm surprised because the marketing on this film fucking sucks. Like, the first teaser was fine because it shows the setup and it ends with him on the island. And you're like, oh, what happens next? Go see the movie. But there was another trailer, which I'm sure you can find on YouTube. I don't know if it's called trailer number 2 or theatrical trailer number 2. It's a trailer that literally gives the entire fucking movie away. The entire fucking movie away. It literally shows you him working with FedEx, him with Helen Hunt, the plane crash, surviving on the island. Years later, him being thinner, escaping the island, being back home, kissing Helen Hunt. They literally showed the entire movie in the trailer. It is one of the worst trailers. Again, not the teaser, the second trailer. One of the worst fucking trailers I've ever seen in my life because of that. And then even the poster. Like, this poster is lame. Like, anytime you try to look for a poster for this film, it's a lame poster. It's just Tom Hanks' face. Like, imagine there's a movie and there's a poster like, me doing. Or me doing. Or me doing. It's a lame poster. So, you know, shitty poster. That second trailer was horrible. And yet, this film did make a lot of money, so it shows that even if you have shitty marketing, it can still make money. Now, the reasons I enjoy the film, Tom Hanks does a wonderful job. He's a guy who at the beginning is so set on time and so set on his job and doesn't have too much time for relationships, but he's not being an asshole about it either, but he's just a guy who's honed in on his job. We gotta go faster, we gotta go quicker. And at the beginning it's a bit weird because it seems as if it's a big advertisement for FedEx. But you know what, in a lesser movie it'd be a problem. Here I can deal with it. Helen Hunt, you know, she's in the beginning of the film, she's in the end of the film. I've always liked her as an actress. I don't know what she's done lately, but I always thought she was talented. And then when he gets on the island, what's interesting is that huge section when he's on the island. There's no music, and you don't hear too many sound effects like insects. When you watch the film again, you listen closely, you don't hear bugs. It really gives a sense of isolation, which I thought was a cool idea. It was a cool thing. And the only time you hear music is either some Russian music, because the very beginning when Tom Hanks is working with FedEx, it's in Russia. Or when he finally escapes the island, there's this beautiful music. Very minimal, some would call minimalist music, but to me a great piece by Alan Silvestri, who has worked with Robert Zemeckis before, of course, Back to the Future. He's also worked on films like Predator, Predator 2. I would say an underrated score by Alan Silvestri. Again, it's a short parts of the movie. I mean, it's quite a lengthy film. It's 2 hours and 20-some minutes, and that score doesn't pop up till at least an hour and 40 minutes in the movie. But it's done very well. I was just listening to it by itself on YouTube before I turned on the camera. Again, very beautiful piece of music. And you really feel bad for Tom Hanks' character, being alone on this island and him trying to survive, trying to figure out what to do next. Trying to get food, trying to crack this damn thing open, and he smashes it against the boulder and it doesn't work. Smash it against rocks, it doesn't work. He's doing something, cuts his hand. There's a time where he's trying to escape on the raft, and the raft gets poked by this coral, and some of it fucks up his leg. This thing where his tooth is hurting, and a couple FedEx packages washed up from the plane crash, and one of them had ice skates. So he uses ice skates and does this sort of boom to get the tooth out. And the way that was executed with a bit of slow-mo, and you really felt the impact, is like, oh, wow, that must have hurt like fucking hell. And you really, really feel for Tom Hanks' character. And I like Tom Hanks as an actor. He's a very stellar actor. Been in many great projects. But I would say this is one of my favorites of his. I mean, a good chunk of the film, it's a one-man show. And if that doesn't work, the movie doesn't work. But he pulls it off extremely well. And the interesting thing about the making of this movie is they filmed the parts where he gained a little bit of weight. You know, for the beginning parts of it. But then, I believe they took about a year off so that Tom Hanks can lose the weight and get to how a guy who lived on an island for 4 years would look like. And during that year, Robert Zemeckis and his crew made another movie, and that was called What Lies Beneath, with Harrison Ford and Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm actually not a fan of that movie. I never got the hype behind What Lies Beneath. I didn't care for the twist. I didn't care for the scares. I didn't feel any of the scares. I didn't really... The story didn't intrigue me that much. What Lies Beneath was popular at the time, but I don't know of anybody who actually talks about that film nowadays. Doesn't mean they don't like it. I never hear anyone talk about What Lies Beneath. Even when they talk about Harrison Ford, like, does anyone ever bring up What Lies Beneath when they're talking about Harrison Ford? Let alone Robert Zemeckis? That was a big hit too, so it was a great year for Robert Zemeckis. He had two huge hits, that one and this one. I think What Lies Beneath might have been a summer release. Could be wrong on that, and this was more either like November or December, I believe. But I definitely prefer this over What Lies Beneath. Just sorry, that's not my cup of tea. But this one, of course, I gotta talk about the volleyball named Wilson, which is another one of the packages he finds. And when he cuts his hand, he's getting pissed off throwing things, and he throws the volleyball. And when he looks at it again, his bloody handprint, he sees it kind of made a face, and then he makes a little bit of eyes and a mouth. Here's the thing about this movie. This is a movie that's, again, like 2 hours and 20-some minutes, right? And you have to lead up to a scene where Tom Hanks is crying over a volleyball that he's named Wilson, because the volleyball went away, and he's crying for him, weeping on this raft over a volleyball. That sounds like something that would be on an SNL skit or a Mad TV skit. How do you pull that off without seeming so ridiculous, so awful, so like, are you fucking serious? And yet they made it work. You felt bad for Tom Hanks because his friend, and that's the thing, storytelling wise, directing wise, and writing wise, William Broyles Jr. was the writer. They pulled it off well. Wilson never talks, just sits there, but because of these years of isolation, it is understandable. You would want someone to talk to after being on somewhere for that amount of time to keep your sanity in check. So Wilson the volleyball became his friend. And again, when you actually do feel bad for a grown man and a guy like Tom Hanks when he loses his volleyball friend. Again, you say it out loud, it's funny, but when you're watching the film, it's sad. So again, I know I'm repeating myself, but that's when you know a film like this is working. And I thought the shots on the island looked beautiful. They definitely picked a great location for it. When Tom Hanks gets back, I like the message. It's simple. It's to the point. Some may say it's blunt, but it makes sense to me. You know, he talks about how there was a point where he was going to commit suicide. He was going to hang himself, but he did a test, and he realized that in the test, it wouldn't be a quick snap. It'd be suffering, or fall on the rocks and break his back, or break his legs, or... I think he had sort of epiphany of, you have to keep breathing. And that's what you gotta do. Just keep breathing. Because the sun will rise another day. That was a nice message. Because he gets home and the love of his life is married and has a kid. And leads to, you know, she still loves him. And there's even a moment where she offers to run away with him. Or at least give the chance to. But even Tom Hanks goes, I have to take you back to your family. and they both understand. But it's, you know, it's sad that he went through all this stuff and then he can't get the girl, his love of his life at the end. She's married to like a dentist, and they have a daughter together. Yeah, it makes you feel more bad for Tom Hanks' character. And yeah, at the end of the film, it's literally a crossroads, which some people be like, wow, the symbolism is as subtle as a jackhammer. But it worked in this movie. I liked the location they shot at. I love the look of the crossroads. I love the ideas that it plants into. Because one of the packages, the one he didn't open, had these nice wings on it drawn by someone. And he returned the package and he was leaving and he talked to this woman, didn't know who she was at first, and when she's driving away he notices a pair of wings on the back of her truck, knowing that that was her package. And he sort of gives this look and the little smile to where she drove back to, and call it luck, call it karma. Who knows what will happen next? Maybe he'll go meet the girl and talk to her. Maybe things will work out. Maybe things won't. But that's the thing. Goes back to the message you was saying earlier. You gotta keep breathing, because you don't know what will happen the next day. The sun will rise another day. So I think it's a very solid survival story. Again, you really feel bad for the character Tom Hanks plays. Pulls off a stellar job performance-wise. Easily, in my opinion, one of his best performances. This is a time where he was on a streak of doing, you know, Forrest Gump and Philadelphia and Apollo 13, all solid films. And, you know, nowadays, once in a while he acts, and then it's in a movie that's like, like Larry Crown or The Lady Killers, which I didn't care for. I mean, that was a while ago, but I didn't care for that one. But again, talented guy. My personal favorite will always be The Burbs. I love The Burbs. I reviewed that a few times on this channel. I also enjoy The Money Pit. You know, his flat-out comedies. I wish he would do that again nowadays, but I guess that's past. I mean, The Lady Killers was a comedy. I'm talking about the comedies he would do, like The Money Pit. Like, even Bachelor Party, which was fun. But I guess he's more wanting to do dramatic work. But, again, he's very good at his job. And I'm not sure what else I could say about it, because, yeah, it's a long film, but I didn't really feel the length. I was hooked into it, because it's a good story. It's a simple, basic story, but it's well told, well acted. Very small usage of music. When it's used efficiently. And Robert Zemeckis did a phenomenal job directing the film. So, Castaway, if you've never seen the film, I can't recommend it high enough. If you have seen it, maybe be one of those things, hey, give it a shot again if you haven't seen it in a while like I did. But yeah, wonderful movie. Either way, thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.